What could you say about how people changed in that horrible situation of the camps?
They changed for the worse. They became animals. Don't forget, everybody for himself. If you don't eat this piece of bread, you die. Another one ate it but still hungry, he might steal your piece of bread. You have shoes, his shoes already rattle off his feet. He might steal your shoes when you sleep. Some of them, very few, were still human beings, like you would say in Yiddish, a mensch. You know what it is, you know where you are, and you have to look after them. Unfortunately, by and large, became animals. You go out, and that's where it went. The death rate was extremely high, beatings was high, and food, we don't have to talk about it. And later on we found out that camp milk, comparatively speaking, to a Mauthausen, a Gusen, or a Gunskirchen, or an Ebensee, was the least of the worst places.
What might you be beaten for?
He didn't like you. You just told you, oh, you just up to something. You didn't have anything you had. Yeah, there's no question why beaten up. We had a few say this. And every morning going out and work was more or less peaceful. Coming back, they always picked up one or two guys. We had to come in 5 in a row, so it's easier to count. He pick up one or two guys and just isolate them from the group and just literally beat them till they were unconscious or killed. No reason. You didn't keep your steps with the thing. That's a good reason.
And what would you say happened to the people who were your keepers? I mean, can you say anything about what change came over them, or
Depends on times. At one time we had these young punks, these SS kids, who want to show off that they are 20, 22, 25 years old. They want to show they are such a big somebodies. So they were mean. At certain stage we had an old group, old Wehrmacht people in their 50s. They were human beings. They knew what we are, they know what they are, they know the circumstances. They was like, don't bug me, I'm not going to bother you. That's for a while. And by and large, you stay away from their way. If you see one coming, you run the other way. Unless they really caught you physically. But otherwise, there's no contact with them.
Yeah.
There are very few, one or two, who finished half a cigarette and threw it on the floor so you can pick it up and smoke it. But it was maybe one or two of how many hundreds, I don't know.
Is there anything that you could say about human nature, just based on that extreme kind of human experience?
Human nature, in my experience, it's a cover. It's a facade. When everything goes well, you smile, you're cute, you're courteous, your behavior is proper, and so on. And you look out, hello, how are you? And may I do this for you? When you're done in the nitty-gritty, when your life is at stake, you become, well, not so nice. It's your life. It's either me or him. And usually you vote for yourself. And that's what it is. Very few people can maintain that nice, proper, and behavior. Should maintain them all, most of them. And those were the first to die. Those were the first to die. You were too nice, too lenient, forgiving.
So when the liberation came, how did it come to you personally?
I was numb. But day and a half before, excuse me, we were not driven out to work. And we knew something is coming. That would be Friday night, May the 4th, I believe.
How did you know something was coming?
I just told you. We were not driven out to work. And they let us sleep. That time we were night shift. And Friday night, nobody comes out. Saturday morning, we didn't get food, anything. That's another day. Okay, we skipped here one thing. After Melk, when the war was pretty close to us, we were evacuated and taken to Ebensee, still in Austria. That's one of the most beautiful picturesque neighborhood. Franz Josef, who the Emperor of Austria, had his summer home in Bad Ischl, which is 5 kilometers, 3 miles from this place. Then that over there was very terrible. This 3-4 weeks we were there. The work was terrible. If you worked, you get about 1/4 of a kilogram bread a day. If you didn't work, you get 1 slice. Friday night we didn't go out to work. And Saturday morning, there were from mouth to mouth words. Nobody goes into these tunnels. We didn't know what it means. Nobody goes through the tunnels. Later on I found out this was a big camp. Where Melky were 5,000-6,000 people, this had about 18,000 to 20,000 people in there. All the tunnels were wired. They wanted to get into the tunnel to blow us up. This is a documented fact. Then some loudspeaker comes in, one of the Germans, everybody go into the tunnel, we want to save your life, and so on and so forth. Nobody went into the tunnel. This was Saturday. Sunday afternoon, I'd say about 1:30, 2 o'clock. First, the American Third Army and a Canadian unit came in to liberate our camp. We were numb, and we were didn't know what else, but we were happy. We didn't have to go to. So the first thing they put up, they didn't know this, field kitchens. For 48 hours we didn't eat everything. Everybody had either, they gave us food. And we got sick. Out of nowhere, you get a heavy bean soup with some meat in it, or some other thing, and we ate, and the more you ate, the more they gave you. And brother, we got sick. This lasted a couple of days. Then you started to recuperate a little bit, took a stack. My brother was killed 4 days before the liberation. He was beaten up a few days before, that's when he died. And he was separated from me in different barrack, we called the unit tent. They called us a barrack. I was different. I went in there, and a friend of mine I knew from Europe went to school together. He told me he died. This was Saturday. He died the previous Wednesday. It would be May 2nd. And then we tried to stay alive.
How much did you weigh when
I was waiting for this question. 35 kilograms, about 74, 75 pounds. I had no trouble with cholesterol or being overweight. And then this food that made me that I lost even a few more pounds, because I also had the biggest sickness was dysentery, diarrhea. That knocked out the half of the camp till the doctors found out. They had field hospitals. They took us in there and gave us things. That lasted a few days. Then we came back. Of course, we could barely walk. But we were still 20, 21, 22-year-old guys. You're strong. And little by little we came back to it, and they didn't rush us. It was that about another 3-4 weeks, I believe. They fed us, and then.
How did people change? How did people act when the liberation came? I mean,
nothing particular. I made it. I'm alive.
Yeah.
And then a week later, I said, "Oh, you saw my father, you see my brother." You know, when it's self-delusion, self-hypnosis. I'm sure he's alive somewhere. I just cannot find him. Then you find out the whole truth. I'm not here anymore. I went to that about 3-4 days before the liberation. The crematorium didn't work. So the dead bodies were piled up. And I went there and I find my brother. Literally. I find my brother in this pile. I pulled him out. I would have given him a burial, but there was no burial. He was landed up in a mass grave. After liberation, the American brought in the local German, Austrian big shots, the Bürgermeister, mayor, and all the big said, you dig the grave and you bury them and watch it how you're doing. And that's what they did for days and days and days. That's, I guess, a very small portion for the revenge, but they did it. Yeah. And then we had one service in a mass grave for all of them. Over the mass grave for all of them who died. But my brother was there among them.